I'm already seeing some people like I'm the overthinker. So yeah, go read through them and I'd like to hear which one you think you are. So can we be so many? Because I see them and I can be like definitely be so many of those.
Oh, absolutely. The victim is the mothership of all imposters because it shares a common border with the wounded inner child. And we all know when we're playing the victim, I've been working at this and this person got the job because they had connections or nepotism, or I never get a chance to do X. This person is prettier, richer, has all these things that they don't
Yeah.
have. But if you stay in that, you never change. You got to move into gratitude and focus on what you are good at because everyone is good at something. Everyone has a gift. So that means you're not focusing on your gift, you're focusing on someone else. So once you do that, your life changes. The egotist, it says beneath the brash self-confidence, you'll find insecurity masquerading as bravado. And we all know egotists. Look at politics, for
Mm,
example, people who just come across on a bash, they just are so arrogant and bullying. And then there's egotists that can, if they're in check, can just be great leaders. And we've seen that too. So you could decide where you want to go because all these imposters are healthy if they're balanced. And they could be unhealthy, just like anything else, just like eating, just like your last guest. You could eat, but eat in moderation. Think about what's best for you. They say the best diets are, go to the 6 different categories of food and write down 3 of the main ones that give you the most nutrition. Pick one from each, but eat it in moderation because then you could stay on a diet. And I'm like, oh my
yeah.
God, that's genius. And, so it's the same thing here. Just, make it in moderation. So the seductor, flirtation, and manipulation come together here, yet fear of real intimacy prevails. So these are people that really use to seduce somebody to get what they want. Then it causes friction, it causes inauthenticity, and it really wreaks havoc later in their life because it's never really real and they
Yeah.
didn't get something based on who they are. The fixer is always avoiding self-reflection and they are always going, oh, what can I do for you? Or helping other people. And they get their, just self-confidence from, look, I'm such a giver and look at me. But inside they're feeling, God, I'm hiding from what my gifts are. It's wonderful to give and share, but you have to also do that for yourself. And the overthinker, when unchecked, leads to paralysis by analysis, meaning those are the people that leave their book inside them and never write it because they're afraid of judgment, or they never go after what they want because they can't make a decision. God, I love this, I love that, I love that. So they never could just go, I'm going to stay in this lane, learn this. Then once that's learned, I'm going to move on to something else.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who's so talented in everything. I'm like, how are you so gifted in everything? Like really good at everything, won all these awards on the national stage. And they said, well, I started with just learning this, like just learning guitar. Once I mastered that, I got into piano. Once I mastered that, I got into
Yeah.
composition. Once I mastered that, I got into film scoring, So it's like, wow. So you don't do everything at once. You master one. Then you train yourself that you're good at something, and with discipline, you could achieve it. So the judge imposter is rigid, they're a critic, and they're always looking for people's flaws. And when you look outward at people's flaws, you start looking at your own flaws, and that makes you self-conscious and doesn't allow you to be the best you can be. Then the joker, they're usually the life of the party, but they have a lot of insecurities, and they're usually people who are depressed. My ex-husband was a top television writer, and everyone said, oh my God, you get to laugh all day long because it was sitcoms and all that. And he's like, all those writers. And I'm like, oh my God, those are the most depressed people on the planet. Most of them are just, miserable. And I'm like, what
Yeah.
is it with you guys? And they're just like, that's where we get our humor from.
Yeah.
And so it's very fascinating. And I looked at this and I even looked at myself. And when I started acting, I was insecure because I didn't have a lot of experience. I moved here to Los Angeles at 22 and I got my first audition that was an open call and there was like 500 people coming from 9 to 5. And I go, I'm going to be the first one there, and make an impression. So I was. Then I went in there and I gave my headshots to the people. You always have to give it. There's 2 casting agents. So I gave a headshot, went in, they start asking me questions. And then when I'm auditioning, they told me to do this and do that. And I started to do what they said, which was, it was for teriyaki burger, sit down and pretend you're busy. Then you get a phone call. You have to get up, go get the call while you're eating a burger, then come back, sit down and say, oishi desu. So I'm like, oh, easy. So I do it, but my overthinker was going on, going, oh, wait, are you supposed to take a bite now? Are you doing this? Do you look silly? Are you supposed to walk and talk? Are you supposed, all these things. I went and did this thinking, and I was a victim. I don't have training like these other people do. And I went back and sat down and I said, oishi desu. Then they said, oh, thank you very much. Like there's the door. And that means in Hollywood, you suck, get away. You'll never get hired again in this town. So I went home, I really knew how to do this and all that. So by 5 o'clock, I decided to go back. So I came back, changed my hairstyle and clothes, and went back with a different headshot because I had two. And they said, oh, you look familiar. Oh, I work all the time. And I acted like the egotist. And then when they asked me to do what to do, I did it all and did it brilliantly, sat down with confidence. And they said, oh my God, you're so good. Then they were shuffling the pictures and they said, wait, is this you? And I'm like, oh my God, I have a twin sister and she came in and did that. She's not an actor, but, please don't judge me. They're like, oh my God, you were brilliant. And I got the call, and that was a $25,000 job. And it was just doing this imposter model before I had a name for it, flipping the switch of I am okay. I am good enough. I do have the chops, because everything you do is a gift that you have inside. Then you nurture it. So if you have the gift, it could come out in different ways, but you still are good enough. And once you get that down and sit in gratitude, your whole life shifts.